It's showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, why does my camera look so funky? Hey, what is up? This is the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-wrestling.com. I'm your host, J. Cal, and this camera looks super funky to me. Hey, what is up, guys? This is the pre-party. This is where we talk NWA just ahead of NWA Power, which can be seen on Fight TV at 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific. But every Tuesday, we're here to give you the latest news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. My name is J. Cal. This is the Alliance blog. What's up, everybody? I see so many of my friends here in the house. I see Brian Rosa's here. What is up, Brian? Willie Bowen's in the house. Willie, Terry's here. How you doing, Terry? We got Dr. Stinson in the house. Go Braves. I'm with you right there, Stinson. No way am I rooting for those Astros. Trashtros. Sorry. I think that's Brian's team. Oh, well. Let's see. Camera high. Lamb says camera high quality is better on Twitch than on YouTube. It just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this thing. The settings aren't any different, but it looks weird. Anyways, Dave Scooby's in the house. My boy Heebs is in the house. We got Pro Wrestling Zones in the house. Like I said, Dave Scooby, Lamb, appreciate you guys being here. Let's talk some NWA. First and foremost, we've got an EMPOWERRR episode. And the reason why this is so significant, the reason why this is so important is because when the women's wrestling came to fruition for the National Wrestling Alliance, they were not the first. They won't be the last, but to feature an all-women's pay-per-view is quite a big deal. And the fact that they're dedicating, 45 to 50 minutes tonight to focus on the women talent of the NWA, I feel is very forward-thinking. Now, there are lots of all-women promotion. Hell, Brian Rosas was in the chat. I don't know if he's still here or not, but of course, there's Mission Pro Wrestling. We know that Mission Pro is all about women's wrestling. They just crowned a new champion in Holidead. Mission Pro is a women's wrestling promotion 24 hours a day. It is not a part-time women's promotion. Women of Wrestling Heroes, or whatever it's called, the Genie Bus Project backed by CBS, that's also an all-women's wrestling promotion. Of course, it's been on hiatus until just recently when they announced with Tessa Blanchard and a few more signings for that promotion. So that's all good and dandy. We know the women's revolution in the WWE is kind of come and gone. We know that AEW is introducing a new women's championship, the TBS title. So women's wrestling seems to be at a fever pitch. Of course, Mickie James just won the Knockouts championship over the weekend at Bound for Glory for TNA. So it's pretty cool to see all this wrestling happening. Lamb corrected me. The Women of Wrestling Superheroes. I knew it was something like that. I just didn't know for certain. So it's only fitting that the National Wrestling Alliance get in on this. However, maybe this should have aired last week. And before the hate mail starts coming in, I just feel like there was a missed opportunity here because, as somebody who does occasionally listen to other wrestling media and sometimes consumes content from other sources, I did happen to catch Mickie James on the Busted Open radio show, which aired yesterday, 2 days after winning her championship. And although she did speak about NWA Power, there was very little to no hype about tonight's episode of EMPOWERRR. In fact, I feel like that might be problematic. There's nobody talking about tonight's episode of NWA EMPOWERRR. And I feel like, again, this is a missed opportunity. She just won the Knockouts Championship. And in terms of continuity, this match taped back in August. So, they're going to be referencing her in the NWA and her time in Impact, but they're not going to be able to showcase that title because she didn't have it yet. And her matchup with Kiera Hogan, I'm sure, is going to be great. But remember, Kiera Hogan's already signed to Impact Wrestling. So this was a one-off. And who knows, maybe there will be more EMPOWERRR Wrestling in the future. But it didn't seem like they put a whole lot of thought into this. And that's maybe more problematic of the NWA in general. But that's also really, really tough when you film so much content in advance. And we talk about it on this show. We talk about it on the Alliance Guys podcast. Again, you can hear the Alliance Guys podcast every Thursday night, 5 p.m. Eastern. Oops, the wrong one. 5 p.m. Sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we always recap the NWA. We retcon, we reconfigure. We talk about the NWA. We try to make sense of some of the stuff that's going on. But this is one of those times where, again, if this match would have happened last week, they could have used it and said that this was a stepping stone for Mickie James. I know the feud with Deonna Purrazzo has been focused in Impact. They've had Deonna Purrazzo come to her house. She beat her up in the barn. I know that whole storyline was birthed in the in Impact Zone, but there was a lot of that spilled over into the NWA, including the moments at the EMPOWERRR pay-per-view. And again, I just felt like this was a missed opportunity. I felt like there could have been, they could have been better. Now, Lamb says, actually, EMPOWERRR episode, I don't have to read it. I can just show it on the screen. Actually, EMPOWERRR episode should have been episode 2 after the pay-per-view. Or at least in the first 2 episodes, I think would have made a lot of sense. Lamb also points out Kylie Rae is in action today. But remember, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but Kylie Rae kind of took some time off. Now, this is a sensitive subject matter, and I'm not the most sensitive person in the world, so I'll say this. I know that Kylie Rae suffers from some mental health issues, and I don't know her diagnosis, and I'm not going to pretend to know. I just know that I think she's making the right decision by taking time off to get better here and in the heart. I know she had admitted to using alcohol and marijuana to mask her pain and that sort of thing, which is awful. I feel terrible for her, but I feel like she's doing the adult thing and by taking a brief break, trying to collect herself, trying to get over her nagging injuries so she doesn't have to rely on self-medication and getting back to a healthy state. I think that's very commendable. That problem with that, though, is she's in action tonight on EMPOWERRR, but she pulled herself off of the pay-per-view, or not pay-per-view, but the super card in Kentucky over the weekend because of that reason. So it feels like now it's a little bit staggered. It's a little off. And if they would have released this show earlier, a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, it could have had that feel, right? That it was all part of the same continuity, and we wouldn't have to check ourselves as often as we had to. Heaps points out that he didn't feel like the EMPOWERRR episode was really sold on the social medias, and I have to agree with that. I know they advertised some of the matches, but not as much as you would have hoped. Lambs also points out it worked well for Impact to build up on Impact TV. NWA EMPOWERRR was a nice segment to help that feud and a full force after the pay-per-view on Impact. Make no mistake about it, Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo, that deal was to help Impact, and it did. Deonna Purrazzo lending her abilities to the NWA for EMPOWERRR certainly helped sell that pay-per-view. And as much as I like Deonna Purrazzo, her and Melina put a pretty good match on. It wasn't the sole purpose that I would have bought the pay-per-view, but for some people out there, it might have been. So using Deonna Purrazzo was smart. I think that was a well-calculated move. And if it meant that Mickie James would have more time in Impact, so be it. She's not really an NWA contracted wrestler, at least as far as I know. And, so I felt like that was fine. it's, again, the whole continuity issue. It's a shame that they didn't have this more well scouted. And then he says it's poetic justice that EMPOWERRR hype has been overshadowed by Mike Knox. Oh yeah, the Kelly gimmick. At first someone said it was Snitsky, and I was like, that's not my fault. Sorry, I just had to say that. And we'll get to Mike Knox in a minute, because it's certainly worth talking about, and it's certainly worth focusing on. But again, the timing of the show, I feel like even a week earlier would have been more potent for the NWA, and it would have given us a pause leading up to the show in Kentucky. And Brian, you Astro fan, I can't cheer for your team, Brian. I just can't do it, sir. I can't cheer for the Astros. Just no way. No. I'd rather cheer for the Giants. I'd rather cheer for the Rangers. Oh, God, that hurt. If you guys don't know baseball, never mind. Anyways, getting back to pro wrestling, right? Because that's what we're here for. We're here to talk NWA. Again, tonight's card, it's an all-women's show. And it's trying to pay homage again to the women's wrestling. One of the matches that's been announced is kind of rubbing me the wrong way. The Burke rules. I mean, did Mildred Burke wrestle in a time where you couldn't jump off the top rope? Can someone educate me on that? Because I don't understand why you take somebody clearly as talented as Lady Frost, who basically her entire moveset is an aerial offense, and she looks great doing it. I'm a huge Lady Frost fan, but putting her in a match with Sky Blue and then telling her she can't jump off the top rope, why? What's the point of that? But just because it used to be like that doesn't mean you should still be like that. Is this where we're going, Sean? Is this where we're going, Sean? Angels never cheated to win their World Series. There were no trash cans beaten on that one. See, we're talking baseball. I'm very passionate about baseball. I love the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They won the World Series in 2002. A lot of people don't like the Angels because they don't spend a lot of money on baseball or make bad decisions when it comes to spending money on baseball. One thing they never did, though, was wear little headsets while they were playing. Hopefully Brian Rosa didn't just turn off the channel. He says Sky Blue has worked a ton of matches for the Chicagoland Lucha Feds. And Sky Blue is great. Sky Blue is terrific. Both of these girls are great wrestlers. I don't really know why there's a gimmick involved here. Why can't we just have straight up wrestling? If this is to pay homage to Mildred Burke, then get the best damn athlete in the ring. Sorry, I got distracted. I have to show what Brian said. I still beat on the trash cans when I go. Is that like a war cry for you guys? Getting back to this match, Mildred Burke with the Burke rules. If these are Burke rules and it's so important to honor these rules, then why isn't the main championship? Why isn't the NWA World's Women's Championship defended under these rules? It just seems kind of hokey and a way to limit one of your best performers in the ring. And I like Sky Blue too. I think she's great. And again, she uses a lot of the top rope offense as well. I'd rather just have these two straight up in a wrestling match. In fact, if I was booking the NWA Women's World Championship, I would put her in the ring with Lady Frost, and that would be your number one contendership for Kamille, but I digress. Yes, Heebs. Yes, they did. And now he's on the Dodgers, and they didn't make it to the playoffs. Or they got to the playoffs, but didn't win the World Series. Brian Rosa points out that Sky Blue is signed to AEW. Hey, she's not the only one. Kiera Hogan is also signed to AEW. She's on this card as well. I know that Forbidden Door is slowly starting to shut, but I wouldn't be surprised if we still see some more of these talents entering, not just through the NWA, but United Wrestling Network, Mission Pro, and other non-competitive promotions. Because, look, AEW is definitely a little bit higher on the pecking scale at this point than the NWA or United Wrestling Network or any of these other wrestling promotions. But it would still behoove them to allow their talent to enter other professional wrestling organizations because it gives them opportunities and more reps and all that good stuff. Man, you guys are going fast. Willie Bowen says, do you think Deonna Purrazzo will make an appearance on NWA Power, maybe wrestling Kamille? I think so it's very interesting because I did listen, like I said, I did listen to Mickie James on Busted Open, and it did sound like there would be some more interaction between the NWA women's division and the Impact women's division. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know to what extent. I haven't seen any spoilers for the Impact show, with the exception of Mercedes Martinez. I know she showed up, but outside of that, I don't think anyone from the NWA necessarily made it to the Impact tapings, and therefore I don't think you're going to see Deonna Purrazzo at Power, or even Mickie James with the Knockouts Championship at Power. But then again, all of that, I could be wrong because we don't see more tapings again until December. So we'll see how that all pans out. And like Dave Scooby said, word is that Mercedes Martinez will be facing Mickie James in Impact very soon. Yeah, I did see that video on Twitter. And I think that's great because Mercedes Martinez is a phenomenal athlete. And it's a great way for Impact to introduce more talent to the roster. But man, can we get Kamille versus Mercedes Martinez? Can we get some more focus back in the NWA? I mean, there's a ton of women already on the Impact roster. I don't know, Mickey. Use some of your leverage to get some of these women to work for the NWA, if that's still a thing. Heebs, I want to give you an introduction to Angels baseball later at another time. Heeb says that Melina was at Impact this weekend, so there you go. There you go. Maybe that the continuation, the storyline will continue, and I think that's good for both companies, right? You know, the NWA benefited from their relationship with Mission Pro. If Brian's still in here, I'm sure he could speak about it. But not only having Thunder Rosa in the NWA, but the short time that they had Alexia Graciana in the ring, they were introduced. Jennacide was introduced to the NWA through Mission Pro, and oh gosh, I think there was somebody else that showed up too. Lady Frost, I believe, was not related. I don't think Kenzie Page was related. But just having that relationship with Mission Pro, I was hoping that we would see more Mission Pro talent show up in the NWA. And we know that some of the Mission Pro talents are now showing up on AEW. La Rosa Negra just showed up on AEW Dark recently. So again, Mission Pro is getting it done when it comes to women's wrestling, and there is not a lack of need for good quality women wrestling because Impact has a need. The WWE is grandiose as it is, has a need. AEW still has a need. And then you have the women's of wrestling superheroes, the NWA, the United Wrestling Network, and all the other promotions in between, Ring of Honor, MLW. Everyone has a need for women's wrestling. So a place like Mission Pro is a good place to be because I'm sure there are lots of scouts checking out what's happening with Mission Pro. And on top of that, I think it's very important for the NWA to kind of pool its resources with a company like Impact. And if they could share talent, why not? I mean, would anyone really bat an eye if Jordynne Grace came in to challenge Kamille? I mean, I think that would be awesome. I think that would be great. It'd be great for Kamille. It'd be great for the NWA if that's something that makes sense for Impact. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see. And Brian Rosa says Mission Pro will work with everyone except WOW. And I understand that, Brian. That the reasons why are pretty evident. Nuclear heat, I think, is the phrase I saw on the T-shirt. Hell, Brian, you should be talking to Dave Marquez and getting your own Mission Pro show in out there in Texas. Heebs just keeps going back to baseball. I love it, Heebs. You're the best, bro. Lamb says, instead of building up a new upcoming talent for the women's division, fans, we want well-known talents from other promotions here in the NWA instead of building our own talents. And Lamb, I mean, let's be honest for a second, right? There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, and we'll talk about the world title in a bit, but like, where have they built up the next star? You know, they're doing this number one contenders match. I alluded to Lady Frost and Sky Blue, and it's only a matter of time before Lady Frost is signed somewhere else too. But Chelsea Green, who I think is technically under Impact, under contract. Then you've got Melina, and you've got Kylie Rae, and all three of them will be battling tonight to become number one contender. Melina had made her career elsewhere. Chelsea Green is a star elsewhere. The only one in that group who hasn't really broken through yet is Kylie Rae. And even I say that, she was signed to AEW. She was about to challenge for the Impact Knockouts Championship. So again, it's like, where are they building their stars? They really haven't. Who are the new women that have come to the NWA in the last few minutes? Tootie Lynn Ramsey. And I don't know, I didn't get to see what happened in Kentucky. There hasn't been almost any talk about what happened at John Farmer. I just said Mercedes Martinez should be challenging Camille Brickhouse, and there it is, December 18th in Philadelphia. Mercedes Martinez versus Camille. Thanks for the info, John. I appreciate that. But which stars have they built up? Camille's established. You don't have to build her up. I mean, she just continues to do what she does. You've got Kenzie Page. Okay, I like Kenzie Page, but she's already had 2 title shots. I like that. I like that a lot, Brian. Good for you, man. Good for you. And if you guys didn't see the comment, Brian Brossa says you will be seeing some more MPW at NWA in December. Bravo, brother. That's good. That's good for, I think, the NWA, and I think that's also good for Mission Pro. I hope that relationship works because, again, quality female talent is a premium right now, and there isn't a ton of great women wrestlers all across this country. There are some very good talents. A lot of them have seemed to, congregate down there at Mission Pro, and that's good for Mission Pro. But at some point, talent, the NWA is going to be looking again. Impact. I already said all this. The women's wrestling is at a premium, and I think it's great that the NWA is putting a focus on this. But I really feel like this show today should have been last week's show. So let's see this. I'm going to get to some of your comments because I'm kind of rambling here. Lamb says kind of what I was thinking too, that the NWA should finally focus to build up their own talents instead of relying on talents from other promotions. I do agree with that. Sean Mega says the NWA, Impact, Major League Wrestling, Ring of Honor should all work together. And the problem with that, Sean, I think in theory that's great, but there's so many egos involved. I can almost guarantee you that Major League Wrestling and the National Wrestling Alliance will probably never work together. Now, I know in wrestling they say never, but I've heard some stories even that predate the major relaunch of Major League Wrestling that would be prohibitive from the NWA and MLW working together. That could change. But again, I don't feel like it would be. And then Sean also points out Booker T just did an all-women's show. And Booker T is really taking advantage of what's happening down there. I know that SWE Fury, Southwestern Wrestling Entertainment, Fury, recently decided to stop running television. And I guess they opted to give those spots to the Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion down there in Texas. So, again, he's taking advantage of those opportunities, and now they've got a show coming up in Vegas in just a little while. So it's really like, again, more women's wrestling. That's always a good thing. Heap says they use Kenzie Page a ton, but don't feature her like a big deal on weekly TV. Yeah, they still haven't really, like, her signature win was the win that sent Chelsea Green into the hot mess, and that's nothing to write home about. Her match against Camille at the Gathering, from what I saw, was okay. But again, she wasn't made to be a star. She was there to help elevate Camille. And then I don't know exactly what happened this weekend, but it was supposed to be 2 out of 3 falls. So we'll see how that works out. It's hard to keep up with you guys. Dave Scooby says Kamille needs to face as many different styles of wrestling as she can. It will only help her improve. I agree 100% with that. And if you look, we're trying to keep up with her schedule over at the Alliance blog at alliance-wrestling.com. If you look, man, and I'm going to say this in all seriousness. This isn't a shot at Nick Aldis. Kamille is your genuine artifact. She is the actual national treasure. She is the new national treasure because this woman is literally taking the Burke and doing exactly what a good NWA champion is supposed to do. She's taking the title to River City Wrestling. She's taken the title to Championship Coastal Wrestling. She took the title to Memphis. She's taking the title to Philadelphia. The woman is going everywhere to defend that title. Nashville, everywhere. And she continuously looks great, and she's facing top competition, and it's going to not only make that Burke title more meaningful, but it's also going to help her become a more complete athlete. And one of the greatest things that Nick Aldis did as world's heavyweight champion was take that title to 4 different continents in a span of about 8 months. And we're going to see Kamille do things very similar, maybe not 4 different continents, but we're going to see her take that title everywhere and defend it. And I tip my hat to Kamille for taking on this responsibility, and she's really showcasing that Burke, a lot like how Thunder Rosa did during the middle of a pandemic while she was able to take that title and defend it at Primetime Live and SWE Fury, and she was able to defend at Mission Pro and able to get that belt in AEW. I mean, Kamille has that opportunity to do very similar things to what Thunder Rosa and what Nick Aldis had done previously. So I hope that Kamille continues to be the dominant force that she is. I hope she continues to take that title from territory to territory to establish the Burke as the main championship in all women's wrestling and solidify herself as the actual national treasure. Dodie says, Kylie Rae, I think not worth a building at this time. You know, Dodie, I get the sentiment. It's kind of hard because you never know what you're going to get with somebody like that, but she's so extremely talented and has all the tools to make it to that next level. If she can get sound with her mental health and she can get to a place where she's comfortable, I really feel like she could be a superstar in the making. I really do. Dodie also says they must build Jennacide and Tootie Lynn. Yeah, I agree 100% on Jennacide. I'm still learning about Tootie Lynn. I know we'll see her tonight. But Jennacide, I think, to me, is a proven commodity. She's an asset to the NWA, and they need to lock her up. They need to build her up because she has potential to help carry that women's division going forward. Heeb says, back to the Burke rules. Sky Blue was originally trained by Rockin' Randy Ricci, and her first couple of years of matches were wrist locks, chin locks, and 1 flying crossbody. Heaves, that's a lot more information than I knew about Sky Blue. And yeah, I mean, look, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which just happened out here in LA recently, doesn't have any ropes, right? They wrestle a strictly like a work shoot style. And I think that's terrific. And there is a market for that. But why now? Why here? What's the point of this? You know what I mean? Like, Lady Frost is an excellent high flyer. Sky Blue is an excellent high flyer. The matches are more exciting to J Cal, when they're doing moves off the top rope, when they're hitting those, flying sentons or moonsaults or Asahi moonsaults or whatever. I really think that's more fun. Fiona says that Kamille is a queen. Brian brings up a good point. Kamille needs to work with women in the PWI 150 to build that title reign up. I mean, she's faced Christy Janes. She'll be facing her again, and she faced her a couple months ago. We know that she's going to be facing Mercedes Martinez. You're right, though. It's not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Like, no offense, no disrespect intended towards Anna Diaz, but I don't know Anna Diaz. I do know who Mercedes Martinez is. I do know who Holly Dead is. I do know who Jennacide is. I do know who Lady Frost is. I do know who Heather Monroe is. I do know who Jennacide. I do know who Ruby Reyes is. I know who Delilah Doom is. There's a lot of wrestlers out there that she could be showcasing with, she could be facing off with, and it would help elevate her style in the ring. And Kamille is no slouch. This is not a shot at Kamille. She's great. I really feel like things are going to be good for her. Heeb says, doesn't Jennacide have a title shot from the championship challenge thing? That's a great point. That's a great point, and I don't recall. I know that the legend in that group was Velvet Sky, and she has an opportunity. Yeah, I think actually Jennacide might have a shot. And Brian also points out that Mercedes would be a good victory. Mercedes Martinez, she's great. Brian, you would remember I got to see Mercedes Martinez wrestle at the AWS with Bart and also with Q Pro. And yeah. Terry says, what about all those title shots that were earned some time back? Yeah, so we know, and again, I will take a little bit of a sidestep here from tonight's action. We'll talk a little bit about the NWA in general. We know that Trevor Murdoch has an opportunity. Trevor Murdoch is your world's heavyweight champion. We know that Jax Dane has an opportunity to wrestle for the 10 pounds of gold. We know that the Pope has an opportunity. Now, Jax almost cashed it in, but then was attacked by Crimson, so that match never happened. So those are still two matches that are waiting. We also know that Colby Corino has a shot. Now, the stipulation is that they have a shot at any title. We're just assuming that each one of these competitors will make a challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. But in reality, Colby could go after the national title or the TV title if he chooses to. But I mean, I think the idea is if, especially when you're someone like the Pope, who's been TV champion, and you're somebody like Jax Dane, who's held all the titles, I think they're not going to waste their time, with the second tier championship. They're going to go straight for the top. So we know that Velvet Sky has her reward that she could either gift to an active competitor, or she could use herself to challenge for the tag titles or the Women's World Championship. So again, there's a lot of things that are up in play. Heaps pointed out Jennacide, and I think he's correct. So she has an opportunity for either to challenge Kamille or to use it in the tag titles. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, there are some titles there to be determined. And of course, we know that Trevor Murdoch got introduced to some violence over the weekend. I know that none of the results for this weekend's show have been posted anywhere I've been able to see. I haven't been able to track them down, but again, I don't always look for the spoilers, so maybe you guys might know better places to go. But I know Gary isn't going to give me those results. Doc isn't going to send me those results. They're going to let it flow organically through television when they come to Power in the next few weeks. But I do feel like, whatever happened out in Kentucky over the weekend, what we seem to be hearing specifically about is Mike Knox making his return to pro wrestling. This guy might have still been wrestling, but I hadn't heard of his name since Aces and 8 and Impact. So it's been a minute since we've heard of Mike Knox. And here he is coming out there to challenge against Trevor Murdoch. He started beating him up after the match, after the show, sneak attack, if you will. And of course, that's probably setting up for hard times. And, it'll be interesting because Mike Knox is a name that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, whether it was his time in the WWE or his time, again, in Impact. We could probably see Mike Knox challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. And maybe that happens at hard times too. Whatever happened in Kentucky is certainly going to play a role in what's going to happen at hard times too. And I keep hearing that there will be more talent appearing, and now Mike Knox might be the first of many. And this happened over the weekend, so we'll see what happens with Mike Knox. We'll see how that all plans out, how that all plays out. I mean, Jax Dane versus Crimson, I kind of thought that would be a blow-off match, allowing Jax to emerge from that match and then now focus his attention on the 10 pounds of gold. The Pope wrestled Colby Corino. I would imagine that the Pope is now kind of focusing on the 10 pounds of gold. But who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen? Brian Rosa, one last punctuation point. Maybe he needs an agent. Tell her to give me a call to get her better matches. I mean, Brian, you're not wrong. Some of those matches that she has set up are I think are pretty good. Some of them could be better. We'll see how it goes. And then Hebe says, where's Hustler when you need him? We need the spoils. Hey, champ. Thanks for talking to me. Thanks for letting me shoot you. Hebe says, we talked about this on Discord. I just wonder if there's another Supercard show booked for early November to get a return on the Mike Knox stuff. So, okay, we know. This is J. Cal just making some grand guesses, right? These are not facts. These are not confirmed. I am not an NWA insider. I have no inside connection, and nobody listens to me there anyways. It's just you guys. But what I think would be smart for the NWA to do is that they could piece this show out. They don't have to put 3 matches of this show on every single card, every single episode of Power leading up to whatever. They can stretch this out and put maybe 2 matches on each card, because a cage match is the main event. The women's tag match could potentially be a main event. The women's world championship could be a main event. The tag team match with Trevor and Aldous versus Strictly Business could be a main event. So there's opportunity, right? There's a lot of opportunity to stretch this out. And, you know, there's like the Mims match and other matches that are still up there. So they could stretch this out. This could be a couple of weeks of programming. And we're here October 26th. Happy anniversary to my wife, Michelle. Today is our 8-year anniversary. Wanted to say that earlier, totally forgot. But we're here October 26th. We need to get to December 4th. So after tonight's episode, that's the month of November. You only need 4 episodes out of what happens in Kentucky. It's very easy. They could do it. They can do it if they choose to do it. But we'll see how that goes. Sean Mega, always with the... thanks, Sean. Sean says that would make too much sense, Jay. See, that's the problem with not just the NWA. This is wrestling in general. If it makes too much sense, it's not going to happen. So, yeah. If I was playing it out, I mean, what happened in Kentucky is going to definitely lead to the fallout from Kentucky is going to lead directly into Hard Times 2. I think right now we're going to see it's being booked. We'll see Team Hex probably versus a rematch against Jennacide and Paola, Taryn Terrell's team. I think we're also going to see another matchup with Jackson Crimson, unless that really got cleaned and swept under the rug. That'll probably happen at Hard Times 2. We're looking at Scion taking on Tyrus for the TV title. That's more or less been booked. The tag team championship match, we're probably going to get La Rebellion versus Hawk Ari. And so, I mean, the matches are starting to come into foray. We still need a national championship match. We still need a challenger for the Women's World Championship. So we'll see how that goes. Dave Scooby says 2 weeks of By Any Means Necessary plus a power surge. That might get you there. But there's so much action that happened. And the thing that you guys should consider or should keep in the back of your mind, when they were in St. Louis, they shot a lot more footage than what we saw. We know that because there was a lot of empty arena matches. And some of those matches were taped with the specific use of, all right, how can we fill this episode? Which means Power Surge could have matches from St. Louis, or it could have matches from Kentucky. Honestly, if I'm booking the NWA, the matches, I would have put the steel cage match up on YouTube. I would have put that match up on YouTube because you know that there's an audience there who's going to see that match and be like, holy crap, I didn't know Jack Stain and Crimson broke up. And that might get their interest, engage that interest, and get people excited about what the NWA is doing, and perhaps lead them to signing up for Fight TV, or at the very least, ordering the pay-per-views. And that's how I would do it. And I know that's crazy because it's like, well, that's the cage match. That's the best match on the card. But yeah, it's the best match on the card, but it's going to get people talking. So, excuse me just a second. I'm going to get some water. Some other matches for tonight. Like I said, Kiera Hogan challenging Mickie James, Paola Blaze and Jennacide challenging Team Hex. And then, of course, Kylie Rae, Melina, and Chelsea Green battle for a #1 contendership. And I think that sounds pretty good, man. I think tonight's card's going to be interesting. It will have implications, I think, for Hard Times too. And something to note: this is the first time that Kamille will have defended the NWA Women's World Championship on POWERRR. In fact, the last time that somebody defended the title on POWERRR, you have to go all the way to January 2020 when Thunder Rosa defended against Melina. And remember, that was in a match where Melina had sanctioned herself for that title match and then got a whole lot of Thunder Rosa and quickly backed out of the ring. And then before that, of course, Thunder Rosa and Allison Kay had wrestled for that title back in 2019 on TV as well. So that'll be the first time that the Women's Championship has been on TV in over a year, and it'll be the first. This is the legitimate first time that Team Hex will have defended their tag team titles on POWERRR. Really, it's their first title defense because these matches taped back in August. But on top of that, we know that Team Hex, Marty Bell, Allison Kay, will be defending those tag team titles in Ring of Honor. And, of course, the match that they filmed this weekend. And we don't even know who it was against because Kylie Rae, again, took a leave of absence. So we don't know who partnered with Tootie Lynn Ramsey. We don't even know if that match happened. And Lamb points out that we have 5 matches today. Good for the NWA fans. Is it 5 matches? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so Kamille, Tootie Lynn Ramsey is one match. Team Hex versus Team Taryn Terrell. That's your second match. There's a triple threat match. There's the Burke match, which is Lady Frost and Sky Blue. And then which one am I missing? I don't know. So again, kind of putting the wrapping this all up. It's an exciting time to be a fan of the NWA. Whether you're enjoying these shows weekly or not on Fight TV, the pay-per-views have always lived up to the expectation. I haven't walked away from a single pay-per-view saying, well, I wasted my money on that one. And even the pay-per-view where the main event was announced literally just a few days before the pay-per-view was still pretty good. So what do you guys think? Are you excited for tonight's episode of EMPOWERRR? Rosville, welcome to the show, man. Good to see you. Just remember, we are here every Tuesday, this time, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, to talk NWA POWERRR. But we'll also throw in some United Wrestling Network. We'll throw in some Mission Pro. In fact, I'm going to speak this into the universe. Maybe if Brian knows anybody, I need someone to help me cover Mission Pro up on alliance-wrestling.com. If you are a writer or just really passionate about Mission Pro Wrestling and you would like to help contribute to the Alliance blog, shoot me a DM because I definitely would like to give them some more coverage. I'd like to do a little bit more talking about Mission Pro because I really believe that Mission Pro is kind of setting the bar up for women's wrestling. So there's that. In other news, you guys, who's watching United Wrestling Network? Oh, Dodie has something. They need to sign the rest of the unsigned. Let me try that again. They need to sign the rest of unsigned EMPOWERRR ladies to build the NWA women's division. I want to see Bianca. I want to see Debbie Malenko, Jamie and Pollo, and of course the Free Babes in Power. We spent a lot of time talking about those Free Babes last week and what a wasted opportunity that they literally brought them in for one match and didn't even get the fullest extent out of them. Hollywood J was literally just a manager ringside. She didn't do much of anything. And there was a lot of it would have been fun to see that, to see something with those Free Babes. And then, on top of that, like I was really rooting for Debbie Malenko because Debbie Malenko has that historic link to the NWA past. She might be a little bit past her prime for the modern day NWA, but honestly, she's very talented even at this stage in her career. Paola, she joined us, not live, but in the chat last week, and she brought up a lot of great ideas about the NWA. I definitely think she would be somebody the NWA could get behind in a manager role, especially, whether it be managing someone like Jamie Senegal, or even like, I don't know, how crazy would it be to put Paola with a team like the End? It would be such a weird dichotomy. I think it would make a lot of sense. And in a promotion that's not afraid to use managers, why the heck not? And then Bianca too. I think that would be kind of cool to see her. She's a rookie. She's an up and comer. So it'd be interesting to see what she has next in store, what she's going to be capable of doing. And Fiona says she thinks it's going to be a good one tonight. I think so too. I really feel like tonight's show is going to be look, the women's pay-per-view should have told everything they needed to know about women's wrestling. They sold it out, got some great buys on Fight TV. When you see wrestling promotions now focusing more on their women's division, look, it might have been in the works, but AEW's introducing the TBS Championship. It might have been in the works, but WOW's Women's of Wrestling Superheroes is now back. It might have been in the works, but all these things kind of seem to happen right after the NWA announced EMPOWERRR. And so with this greater emphasis, at least from the National Wrestling Alliance, on women's wrestling, we are seeing that filtrate throughout wrestling. Mickie James's lasting effect. She left the WWE, and it wasn't on the best of terms, and she looked like she was going to retire with the WWE. She went from getting ready to wrap up her career to finding a new venture and being an executive producer for All Women's Pay-Per-View. She just won the Knockouts Championship, and all of this happens because the WWE decides to make some talent cuts. I really feel like we're going to see a lot more stuff like this, and I keep hearing from some of those who are within the NWA that there's more to come, and I think what we're going to see is more stories like Mickie James, more people who have left the big time promotions to come back to these more up and coming wrestling promotions and seeing how things will work out. We've got the roving reporter here. Here he is. You guys asked for him. Certified Hustlers in the house. Ask him your questions now because we need to know what happened down there in Kentucky. Dave Scooby says that Lady Frost versus Chelsea Green this weekend at Hurricane Pro. Yes, indeed. Doty brings up the End with Poyo. Looks interesting. That just came off the top of my head, but I think that would be fun. And again, Paro's great on the mic. Odinson's fun on the mic. But could you imagine them having a manager presence like Poyo Damar and what that could mean for their tag team? I mean, it just certainly brings more to the table, I would think. DKM brings up a great point. Does the term knockouts, is that still considered politically correct? That is a good question. What do you guys think? I don't think the term's offensive, so I guess it gets a pass, but I mean, that's coming from the wrong dude to make that suggestion. So I don't know. Also at Hurricane Pro, we get Heather Monroe versus Danny Jordan, two of J. Cal's favorites. I saw both of them in Atlanta recently. Danny Jordan is still a mean girl, and Heather Monroe, excuse me, Heather Monroe is still the best. Heather Monroe, she's a member of a tag team that I would love to see enter the NWA, and that is Heather Monroe and Ray Lynn. They could come in and have some fun. Rodsville never liked the term knockouts. And he also brings out there, women who wrestle, damn it. Yeah, I mean, it could be considered offensive. It could be. But if they're not offended, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm the wrong person to ask. Heeb says they're portrayed correct, so I think it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's not used as an insult. It's not used to put them down. There's not that it's the same thing, but I I noticed in my area, there's more and more little people wrestling. And little people wrestling is the expression is the M word, and I don't even want to say it because I don't want to get canceled. But the wrestling promotions themselves have that in the name, and I've heard little people say that that word is as offensive as the N word to people who are African American, and I think okay, all right, I'm not going to say either of those words. But then there's these little people wrestling promotions that aren't just local, but they run all over the United States. And that word is used quite frequently in describing those athletes. And I've always thought it was so weird. And I'm not the person to comment on it, but I've heard little people say they hate that word, so I won't use it. Dodie says, I remember before the Tharp days that the NWA mentioned the women wrestlers as lethal ladies. Dave Marquez got hot water for calling them the girls. So, I mean, it's all good. It's all good. Let me fix the camera there a little bit. Our pal, Certified Hustler, he says, are the Bearded Duo doing a show tonight? I mean, it's the Bearded Trio, and I don't know if they are or not. I'm assuming he is, Gary and his contemporaries, Doc Stinson, and our boy Will Martin. I don't know if they're doing a show tonight. I would assume they are. They're pretty consistent. They've done shows for just about everything else, with the exception of when they were actually taping in St. Louis, because they were literally producing stuff for the NWA while in St. Louis. So. Yeah, Lamb, that got so much heat, and I thought, why? But I mean, I guess I get it. I guess why I could get why people would be upset with that expression, girls. But Terry said he didn't realize that was a bad word. Look, I've heard your boy Jay is not exactly woke. But I don't want to say anything that's going to offend anybody, right? I don't want to make anyone mad. My job, my demeanor is not to hurt anybody's feelings. That's not what I'm about. That's not what I care to be. If you tell me that something's offensive to you, then I'm going to respect that and not call you by that. And I've heard more than one little person say that the M word was offensive to them. So with that being said, I ain't going to say it. Again, that's not my MO. I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings, and I'm not here to make anyone sad or upset. So I wouldn't use that in the same way. Like, I just refer to women's wrestlers as women wrestlers, or for the most part, just wrestlers. I don't call Thunder Rosa the best women's wrestler I've seen. I call her the best wrestler I've seen, because I don't feel like that's such a big deal, but I guess it is. So. Certified says he talked to Billy Corgan Sunday for 30 minutes by himself. Huge news soon. Well, how soon, Hustler? Come on, man. Don't hold out on us. This is the pre-party. I know, I'm save it for your YouTube channel, man. That's great. I'm glad you got to get some time with Billy Corgan. I've had very limited experiences with Billy Corgan. I did sit down and talk to him at the NWA, what was it? The press announcement for POWERRR. And I wanted to talk to him, and there was another gentleman there too, and he was there first, and Billy's like, hey, I can talk to you both. And I didn't want to do that. That felt weird to me, so I opted to let the other gentleman have Billy's time, and then I never got to talk to Billy after that. So that was kind of a bummer. I did get to talk to Billy on a handful of occasions in Hollywood when he would come out to Port Hueneme when the NWA was still promoting with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I got his opinion on what he thought about Heather Monroe versus Jazz. He put over Heather very, very well, so much so that I thought Heather would be a part of what the NWA is doing going forward. I talked to him a little bit about music, but I never had 30 minutes of his time, so good for you, Hustler. That's real cool. Well, that's going to do it, guys. I mean, we're like 5 minutes to the hour, and I don't want to make anyone miss tonight's show. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a thumbs up, like it, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. We are doing a contest with the blessings of NWA Gold, who is giving away his replica NWA championship. Now, the title belt you see behind me is the British Commonwealth Championship. I'll just drop that. This is a replica of the British Commonwealth Championship, and that's a belt that our good friend NWA Gold sent my way. And if you are a subscriber of this channel, he's going to send one lucky winner a championship belt similar to that. It is the NWA Crown Jewel, the Royal Crown title, the belt that was held by Dory Funk Jr. and Harley Race and Gene Kaninsky from back in 1959 till about 1973. That was a title belt that symbolized the NWA before the 10 pounds of gold. Now, if you prefer, he has a 10 pounds of gold that he's also willing to part with, either one, to one of our subscribers. So if you're enjoying what you're listening to, make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you follow him on social media, NWA Gold on Twitter, NWA Gold on Facebook, and NWA Gold on Instagram. Make sure that you're following the NWA Gold. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which we're pretty close, I'm going to tell you right now, hopefully I don't mess this up, but let me see something here. We are currently at 768 subscribers. Guys, that means that we're 232 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. And once we hit 1,000, we're going to be giving away championship belts. We're going to give away some T-shirts, some Alliance Blog merchandise. We've got some pins, some NWA pins and collectibles. If you can help us get there, we're gonna reward you guys. So again, if you're liking this content, if you enjoy the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, share it with your friends, share it with like-minded fans who enjoy the NWA. Of course, we're here every Thursday night to recap, retcon, and reconfigure the NWA Power episode to make it make sense. I hope you'll join us then. That's with Kevin Frazier, DCam, and myself. We'll be here, same channel. We'll be doing that. Of course, sessions are still coming. We're doing more interviews. Recently, in the last couple weeks, we've spoken to Tim Storm. We spoke to Ruby Reyes. We recently spoke to Jaden of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. We recently spoke to Anthony Idol, who will be making his debut at Championship Wrestling from Memphis this November 6th. We're going to be doing a lot. We're going to be doing a lot to get you guys back on board, so I hope you're checking it out. And again, if you really like this podcast and you want to help support it monetarily, you can purchase a T-shirt. You can purchase a hat. Is this one of the T-shirts? No, it is not. Oh, well. Those are available. The merch link is in the description of the video. You can check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Heaves has got my back on this one. Anthony Idol was super fun. Yeah, Anthony Idol's a great guy. He's been in the business for a very long time. And I say very, very long time. He started training in the late 90s, early 2000s, but took a hiatus from wrestling. When he broke back in, he's wrestling everywhere in Southern California. He's finally starting to branch out. He's going to be out in Memphis. He's going to be, I think, in Indiana also in November. And, who knows? Sky's the limit. He could show up anywhere, but he's a real good guy. Highly recommend checking out that interview just to hear more about him. But that's going to do it, guys. I do appreciate you guys being here again. Let's all go check out some EMPOWERRR. Let's empower those ladies. Let's watch some wrestling. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you at the matches. Good night now.